fantastic script for Ghostlight, an amazing cast of dramatic actors, proper BBC actors, including Sylvia Sims. I mean, that was incredible. Catherine Schlesinger, Ian Hogg, you know, just unbelievable. And we were doing, to all intents and purposes, with Ghostlight, a full-on BBC period drama, which is what the BBC does so brilliantly, with a science fiction. It was just incredible to do that. So no, we had no idea. And at the end of the filming, the very last scene that was filmed, funnily enough, was Catherine Schlesinger's character and Sylvia Sims's character turning into stone. I mean, how apt is that? Really amazing. Yeah. And then we all went downstairs to the basement for a party. We all said, yep, see you next season. Off we went. And then found out a couple of weeks later that no, it was going to go on hiatus. And that felt really sad. I mean, Sylvester and I were both incredibly lucky because in those days, not so much now, but Doctor Who could be a bit of a curse. If you played Doctor Who or the companion, you were typecast because the casting directors and the producers in those days fit you in little boxes like this. But Sylvester doesn't fit into a box, never has done, never will do. Only the TARDIS, which of course is bigger on the inside. So, and I had already had a really good start in my presenting career as well. So neither of us were ever lost for work after that. However, it was just really sad, and April came round, which is the time that we would traditionally have been starting work on the next series, and it was just incredibly sad that we weren't going to have the fun and the experiences that we'd had for the previous 3 years.
I bet those would have been hard to deal with, thinking you're going to come back and then just not.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as an actor, you have to get used to that. Life is very, unpredictable. So, you know, you can be told you've got this fabulous job and it's going to be the next thing, you know, it's going to be incredible, and they can suddenly turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry, we've got somebody else for that now. Or, you know, oh, that's not going to happen because we haven't got the funding. Or, so you do get used to it. So you also get used to being very, very close to people, having your lives intertwined, and then maybe never seeing them again. Doctor Who, luckily, is different because we have incredible events and conventions and stuff, and we have all, it's grown really, the Doctor Who family over the years. When John Scott Martin wrote that on the postcard, Welcome to the Family, I actually thought, that's a bit naff, but actually it's true. And that family encompasses not only the Doctor Who actors and people involved on the show, the costume makers, and I mean, I saw Dee Barron again a few weeks ago, who was my costume designer on quite a few of them. Hadn't seen her for ages, but it was as though we'd seen each other. Lynn Grant, who was our assistant floor manager, who I probably thought I'd never see again, who I hadn't seen since we wrapped on, I think it was Silver Nemesis, the last one she did, or maybe Curse of Fenric. Anyway, there it was, you know, you share this bond with people because you do get to know them, so but you get used to this sort of turnover as well. So that was, at least it wasn't, you know, and you go on to another thing. And you have to get, you have to get used to rejection. You have to get used to failure. You have to get used to saying goodbye to people. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, well, okay. Go on, got the scarf.
You're considered the prototype for the revised series, The Companions. How does that feel? And provided you've seen it, how do you like the revised series?
Well, I think it's amazing, isn't it? Because, well, was it 2005?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, now that's a long time ago, isn't it? I mean, who'd have thought 20 years ago we were all, it still to me seems really new, the new series. I think when I watched Rose for the first time, I was just so pleased because I could see that Russell had taken definitely survival. There's a direct link really, isn't there? There's the where she grew up, there's the council estate, there's the family. It's about Rose. And I thought that that was brilliant because I thought, yes, for an audience who are maybe coming to this for the first time, they need to see the Doctor through a human's eyes. And they need to have some familiarity of like, oh yeah, here's a familiar thing, you know, we've got a real, in a real background of real life. And then there's this strange character who some of the audience are meeting for the first time going, who is this guy? Just like Rose does. But I definitely saw the elements, and Russell since said, yes, he definitely, you know, you couldn't help, I don't think, having been such a big fan, and then having, then writing it again. And I've loved the way that Doctor Who has grown for a new generation. Doctor Who has always been reflective of its time and of the young people who are around, whatever age they are, whatever generation. Ace was 1987, you know, even got it on her jacket. She's a product of the time, you know, that's what young girls were like at the time, even though most TV wasn't reflecting that, because it was, you know, they were looking at this sort of, I don't know, what you call it. Well, there just wasn't a character like Ace on TV at the time. And I think that that's been true of many of the companions in the past, that they've been a product of their generation. And I would say that now is the same. It's really funny. My son, who's a drag queen, and his boyfriend, they watched. They've hardly watched any Doctor Who, but they watched one episode. I think which was the one they watched first of the new series? I can't remember, but they just thought they'd watch it, and then they went, "Oh, this is amazing!" and they went back and watched all Shooties, and now and then they've been watching further back and back. But they would not have watched Doctor Who had it not been for it spoke to them. You know, it's their generation, it's their era, and I mean, I don't get all of it sometimes now, but I think, well, yeah, there goes Doctor Who again, reflecting the world that it's living in right now. Yeah,
I think that's a really, really beautiful way to describe that, because there are, you know, a lot of people that will say a lot of comments about what it's like now, and I think you're right, it stayed up with the times, and it has to, and it is for the young people developing how they are, and I think that's a really, really lovely way to describe that. Thank you for that. I like that. Does anyone else have a question? We've got about 10 minutes, I think, until we're going to go.
I'll stop
signing.
I told you, didn't I?
Oh, sorry, I don't need to be here, to be fair. I like your T-shirt.
Thank you. Hi Sophie.
Hiya.
What are your memories of filming Battlefield, especially the Watertank?
Well, it's not that far from here, is it? That we filmed in Rutland Water. It was very, very chaotic because there were BBC strikes going on at the time. So we had things sort of cancelled, and then having to come up to Rutland Water, which was a great laugh actually. We stayed in hotels in Stamford and Grantham, and that was really lovely. It was, again, brilliant cast, really fantastic people, very dedicated crew, everybody working together. The tank episode, yeah, that was interesting. I remember, again, chaotic because we were trying to finish before 10 o'clock, because otherwise it's double time, you have to pay everybody. And so we were working on a scene. Somebody said, "Sophie, go and get in the tank." I was going, "No, you haven't done haven't done the close-ups in this scene yet, it was kind of filming by numbers by then. I rushed over to the tank, climbed into it, visual effects guys on the top with a big pipe of water. It was warm water, hurrah! They usually put me in cold water. And then this water bubbling up and me thinking, well, this is going to be great. You know, classic Doctor Who end of episode. Doctor, Doctor! Woo! As the water bubbles up. Sylvester realised I couldn't hear anything, so he came and stood really near the tank and was doing hand signals. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. And anyway, they started filming. I'm Doctor, Doctor! And I'm holding myself on the front of the tank like this, because I was floating by that time. All of a sudden I feel this under my hands, and something just made me put my arms up like that. And if you see the footage, Sylvester shouts at the top of his voice, "Get her out of there!" quick as anything. The visual effects guys pulled me out, and I saw the most extraordinary thing, which was the front of the tank, the glass just sort of billowing out and then shattering, taking all the water and broken glass with it, and it would have been me going with it too. And then Sylvester realised that water and electricity are friends and shouted, "Turn off the electricity!" And somebody by the main electricity switched it off, because of course the cameras are metal, and people were running for the exits. And I had little bits of glass in my hands, but I mean, you know, brushable, offable. Didn't think anything of it really. The next day they were meant to have only fools and horses in there. That wasn't going to happen. They were sandbagging for weeks and weeks in there. But yeah, so Sylvester McCoy pretty much saved my life, or certainly horrible injuries. But I'm quite stoic, and I didn't really think anything of it until a few weeks later when my father rang and said, "What's happened?" And it was in the news of the world. "Doctor Who girl cheats death." Fantastic.
What a way to find out.
Yeah, no. Anyway, years later, this just shows what an incredible computer the body is. Years later, I was watching the film called Prestige. I don't know whether you've ever watched that. Really good film, if I remember rightly, about magicians. And early on in the film, the magician's assistant is put in a tank of water to do a Houdini escape with ropes, and it goes wrong, and they smash the tank with axes. And as I was watching this scene and this water coming out of this tank, my whole body started to shake like this. Isn't that amazing? My body had held on to this memory.
Did you realise at the time why you were doing it?
Yeah, I clicked.
It
It was absolutely, it was weird.
Wow.
So there we go. It's amazing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's really interesting. Like I said, how your body can just hold on to things
Yeah.
that you're not aware that you're holding on to.
No, I suppose it's like, you know, trauma, PDHD? No, PDST. That's right, yeah. Yeah, amazing.
Wow, yeah, I weren't expecting that story. That's incredible. It's always interesting to hear what goes wrong behind the scenes, because everything looks so perfect, and
Yes.
obviously it's not always the case.
No.
No, thank you. Who else has a question? Oh my goodness. Okay. You were the first one to put your hand up there at the back.
So, Ace has continued on audio with... Oh.
Hello.
Ace has continued with Sylvester on audio, but they've also paired you with, you've had Benny, Hex, Mel. Does Ace work best as a solo character, or does she work best bouncing off someone these days?
Gosh, that's a very interesting question. I mean, I don't know, because I'm this side of the microphone, and I'm having a real laugh with Bonnie or Lisa or Phil. So you'd be a better judge of that. But I do love working with other people. The only thing about having double companions or more is that, of course, you get less of the story, and it's sort of, you can't quite go in depth as much. But then on the other hand, like say with Phil playing Hex, you get another side of Ace's character and a development of the character. So I would say it's swings and roundabouts, really. Yeah.
Very interesting question. I like that one. They're good, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Who's next? Kieran was first.
Hiya. If you were to have your own spin-off show like the Sarah Jane Adventures, what would yours look like?
Oh, I love a spin-off show. I think it would definitely be a continuation of the Ace that we've seen recently. So
Yeah.
she would be CEO of a charitable Earth. It would probably be, I'd quite like to carry on from the trailer, you know, the trailer for the box set for whichever season it was it 26, I think it was, where you see Ace in this office overlooking the Tower of London. I love that because I like the fact that Ace is keeping an eye on UNIT. It would obviously look different now because, you know, there's a lot of different places that have been blown up and UNIT's not quite as small as it was.
No.
But I like the idea of Ace working in tandem with other companions as well, with Janet or with whoever, and being a sort of like guerrilla, a guerrilla companion for UNIT. You know, I think that would be great. Yeah.
It's really interesting how Kate's come along and just picked you all up along
Yeah.
the way. So I think it'd be really interesting to see that, in, if you were to do a spin-off, to see how that happened maybe.
Yes.
The conversation was like whether she just called you and was like, do you want a job, or
Yeah.
whether it was sort of more in depth with that. Yeah, that'd be really interesting to see that.
Good.
The bits we missed in between, I think.
Yes. There's like the lost stories for Big Finish. You could
Yeah.
do the bits in between. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Maybe we can pitch that. Someone else to be on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, who's next? At the front?
I'm rather new to Doctor Who. I've only been a fan since a couple of years ago, nearly. And I've watched all the old shows. I'm up to Jodie Whittaker's now, seen all the previous bits. I couldn't help noticing that Ace's jacket reminds me of Red Dwarf's Dave Lister. And I'm wondering if that was an influence on the costume where he had a bomber jacket with all these badges. And you have a bomber jacket. And I thought, oh wow, it's a female Dave Lister. You remind me so much of Dave Lister.
Well, he got it from me then. Yeah, I wonder, I mean, you know, because it was my idea, the design for the jacket, because I was wondering, what do 16-year-old girls, what are the cool kids wearing in the clubs? Because I was 24 at the time, and there's this vast difference between 16 and 24, if you remember, many of you. You know, it's like another generation, really. So I went off and researched what young girls were wearing, and I looked in the Face magazine and found these girls wearing parkas and those padded big puffer jackets with safety pins and badges on. So I showed the designer, and that's what we based it on. So I wonder, yeah, I mean, you'd have to ask the designer of Red Dwarf, because that came after, obviously.
Ace is a fashion icon.
But there was a crossover in a way. I mean, we knew them, that Mike Tucker worked on Red Dwarf after he worked on our Doctor Who's. Craig Charles, I knew him by then, and so we all got to know each other. I work with Danny John Jules a lot on children's stuff, lots of children's audio stuff actually.
That's cool. It's nice to see how all the shows intertwine, isn't
Yeah,
it? Everyone knows each other.
I do.
So I think they definitely stole it from you.
Yes.
Yeah. If it came out of your head, they definitely did. We maybe have time for one more question. Yeah, I see you over there.
Yeah.
I've got loads of questions, but I wanted to ask you about your Purple Doctor. Did you ever think it would come back to you who? And did you go on like David Bradley Bush at the end?
It's funny because when I got the call from my agent, I was just at home and picked up the phone from her. She said, we've just had an availability check, and I was so, I finished the call, I burst into tears, and it was like getting the call that you never knew that you always wanted to have. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether you've had that experience of kind of letting go of something and thinking, oh, well, that's never going to happen, and then suddenly it does, and you just, it's unbelievable. And then I had this Zoom with Chris Chibnall, and he said, well, don't know how much of the show we can have you in, because bearing in mind it's Jodie's regeneration show, it's going to have Daleks, Cybermen, the Master, and another companion. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a shame, I'd have loved to have had a bit more of a bite at it. And then I went down to have my costume fitted, and the costume, I said, no, it's a real shame about being in effect a cameo. And the costume designer said, really? He said, that's not the script I've seen. I hadn't seen the script at the time. And I said, oh really, what happens? And he said, well, what about the bit where you jump off the building on a parachute beside me? You parachute into the TARDIS, and I'm thinking, things are looking up. So I was absolutely thrilled when I did get the script, and I realised, oh, Janet and I are a big part of this story. We're needed for the plot. And it was just the biggest thrill. It was really, really fantastic to be involved. And it was great because I met Bradley years ago. And so it was when we had a whole day together down in those caves. And they had to kind of keep saying, do you mind if we just shoot this bit? Because we were so busy talking that nobody could get a word in edgeways. Bradley is an amazing, amazing man. He's very, very, he's into the process of TV as well. He's always saying, oh, what lens are you putting on that? You know, what's the lighting for the, it's like, I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. But yeah, we had a lot to catch up on. It was really great. He loved that scene where, basically Ace kind of teases him and is so feisty. He did it about 3 different ways. Because then he said, to the director, Jamie, he said, you can choose. And I'm really pleased that Jamie chose that one, because it was the one I thought was the best. But yeah, and it's funny because people, I think it was Russell who got asked, what would have happened on the date with Bradley Walsh and with Graham and Ace. And he said, well, I think Ace would have eaten him for lunch. But it would have been fun to be a fly on the wall. I don't think Ace would have put up with him for very long.
Poor Graham. He's very sweet, isn't he, Graham? Yeah, I can definitely see Ace eating him for lunch there. How did it feel going back and smacking a Dalek again for the first time?
Well, that was amazing, because I said again with Jamie, I said to him on the day, because they were kind of working out how to do it, and I said, well, can we just do the same choreography that we did the first time?